Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode, High Rising Sports. It's your boy, Henry, aka He's Him Realtor. I'm super ecstatic to just pronounce our guest for today. His name is Gary Clark. We know him as G Wiz. There's a couple of other nicknames, but I'm super humble just about his story and his journey so far. G, we'll go
Yes.
right into it, buddy. Thank you again for your time, man. So I guess my
Thank
first
you.
question that I have is just tell me a little bit about your background and how you got started. Let's start with basketball first. Let's
Okay.
start there.
Okay. Yeah, I actually grew up in families from Harlem. Mom and dad born and raised in Harlem. I was first introduced to the game where I grew up in Douglas houses, and through my older brother, in fact, who was very instrumental and traveling. He was playing like with a traveling team, played with Riverside Church and kind of local teams like that. And some of his uh, um, friends were actually really, really good and well known. And so I was introduced, funny enough, I was going to school at PS 145 on 105th Street,
Okay.
elementary school, might have been fourth grade. And a buddy of mine was Ray Eccles. He was saying to me, "Yo, G, I was always on the court during lunch hour and had no formal skills,
Mm.
but just loved to play." So he would say, "Yo, G, why don't you go to our Saturday program at Douglas and play?" And because we have games all day. Needless to say, long story short, I had my mom's went over to the center, had my mom sign the waiver for permission slip, and I was introduced. So I met like Kelsey Kidd Stevens, who was running the program. And interesting with this program was everybody came out of this Saturday program, which was what they called it, from 7 a.m. and we hooped games all the way up to 7 p.m.
Wow.
And I mean, guys that I looked up to was like Mark Skeeter Lake,
Okay.
um, Sean Saunders, Larry and Washington and his older brother, Mike Spivey. And these guys, I'm sure some who are listening know these names. And I had my formal introduction there. And that was my training ground. I mean, I really didn't know anything. I mean, from learning basic basketball skills and then really getting intense
Mm.
playing, that's where it all began for me.
So,
And
so just tell me a little bit more, because I think you humbly just saying it, man, and this is why you are who you are, man. When you say intense, tell us a little bit what intense was.
well, for me, I first met this guy. I had no clue when I was on the schoolyard, and I was playing, and I saw him. He had like hard bottoms on, and he was throwing the ball around my back, through my legs, and pretty much he was just playing. He just said, not embarrassing me, but he was just kind of encouraging me. But he was playing his game like it was at ease.
Right.
Later, did I wind up knowing that it was uh, tip dog was Lamont Thornton,
Wow.
and he and I later, became friends. And his brother, in fact, I have a really cool story how I met him for the first time playing with Douglas projects and Rucker, and that was like 1979. Was the first tournament I played in. It was
Wow.
a summer league biddy. And I think the guys was playing with Mike Spivey. I think guys like Richie Simmons was playing. Some other guys, Richie Simmons went to Iona, left-handed, nasty. His game was
Mm.
crazy. And, where everybody kind of galvanized. So to answer your question, how intense it was like our collegiate going into our own NBA. I mean, guys
Wow.
was going hard every day. And we were so young and didn't realize it, and we were small, but we all we got we became good really quickly. We gained skills, and we also had like a traveling team that we wound up playing PAL, BAL. Also back in those days, it was Colonial. up in the Polo Grounds. And so, you were able to play with the cream of the crop in Harlem and in the Bronx.
Right.
And so, so those Saturday tournaments was like, it was real. You had a crowd, you had hecklers, you had those that were your peers. And if you didn't show up, you're going to get laughed at. You're
That's
going to be
it.
made fun of.
That's it.
And if you make certain mistakes, you're going to be called out. And so, we all kind of wanted to hone our skills. The guy for me that we all wanted to be was Skeeter. And he was just so advanced at his age. And he later played at Power Memorial with Mario Ellie, and he ran the point. So, but that was my man. He and I, he was killing guys. He was somebody that he would have 40 on us at any given day.
Wow.
Most people won't tell the truth, but I'm here to tell you the realness.
And the cool thing is, man, this is way before social media. Like, if
Yeah.
you were good, they were following you. Like, and that was insane, right or wrong.
Yeah,
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, dudes would come. People would come to, all over the city, and they would just the word will come out that this guy, I'm gonna go check him out, and whether it was me, Skeeter, my man Armstrong.
Okay.
It was just so many different people, like Steve Armstrong, and it was so many guys that was so nice. Daryl, it was so many. And forgive me that for the ones that I don't remember. Peter Crosby, and there was guys that we continued to look up to that were at those games, just making sure that they had their favorites, they had their teams, and that was their clique, and they were just nurturing us.
So just to pivot a little bit, man, and I know why, but again, I'm just going to always ask that because I don't know, we don't know why, but what inspired you, man, to just continue to follow the game the way you did, besides you being so gifted at such an early age, because we know how that goes. But what was that inspiration for you?
I think seeing, I just love the game, man. I love the game like no other. And I played every day and didn't realize it. And what inspired me, to answer your question, was it was just a pure love. We had no money really. And that just gave us joy. It was hurt and pain,
Right.
Blood, sweat, and tears. And you wanted to always aspire to be better with or against your peers and playing against those that and make a name for yourself. That was really it. You just love to do it.
Awesome. So basketball, you loved it, and I'm going to also take it out to another level, man. You were probably one of the first entrepreneurs without even knowing what was an entrepreneur or the buzzwords, right?
Yeah.
Right, G. We were like all of this stuff. G always say, G, oh, you doing this, you doing that, and every time, and I was always a little younger, but everybody, I think you said it best, man. Growing up, we told each other, man. I think we told each other. So I think for me, what was that passion for you to become your own boss or entrepreneur,
Yeah, I think for me it was I've always been a creative guy. Whether it was drawing at early age, sketching, graffiti artist, my grandmother was a milliner and a seamstress, so you couldn't be in Manhattan and Harlem and not be fly,
there you go.
At least a couple of days, But I just always wanted to do something better, and things that I wasn't afraid to push the envelope, as we say, to aspire to something greater. When I did play, in fact, ball, they actually exposed me to an area where at 13 I was able to go to a boarding school to play ball on a scholarship. And awesome. It was upstate New York between Buffalo and Rochester. And, in the 80s, this was like actually 82. And prior to that, I was able to go because I went to a basketball camp, and like everybody who's who went to this camp through Central Baptist Church. And you had like Terminator, you had Curtis Myers, you had Bobby Garcia, my older brother.
Wow.
I mean, everybody was there, and it was
That's
guys that I was actually played against, who was like, he was like bullying me. He was just the dude.
wow.
His name was Andre. I forget his last name, but he was just a guy in the city who made all city, and he and I became friends, and we were going one on one. I think he beat me like 3 games out of one, but we had to go one on one, and that was like a pivot time for me that in my career, as far as which I never thought it was a career, but playing ball, we were just doing what we loved.
Right.
And I think those disciplines, to answer your question, daily disciplines, I just transferred them into, I guess, what we consider entrepreneurship, working for myself. I always had a desire to be my own boss.
Right.
Didn't realize I really didn't get to that point, but I was almost like a solopreneur, and
Right.
I was really working for myself, but I didn't have anyone at that moment that was actually that I can delegate different responsibilities to, and I kind of learned that through trial and error later. And so so I kind of, when I was able to play at Talentine High School as a walk on after I left.
Which is pretty hard within itself.
Yeah, that was hard. That was hard, you know it. But I knew that I could do it, and I
Right.
saw some of the young cats that I played Rucker with, RYA, all these other tournaments with. So they were actually, I had played with Riverside Church and the Gauchos and Sun Devils maybe 10 years prior.
Oh
So
wow.
the guys that were being recruited were my younger peers. So I was virtually unknown because I came from, another sector upstate. So I wasn't in that community, so to speak. So yeah, so just to answer that, so I always desired to. I got into cutting hair as a barber and an apprentice, and I worked at a couple of places. And I worked in a place called Superstars, was the first place up in Harlem,
Okay.
and with Denny Moe, and he brought me on, and that was an experience in itself. So being an artist, I saw how I can transform things from being something looking really beautiful and still make some money. And being like my brother and I was raised by our mom,
Right.
at that time we needed some bread, and so
Sure.
that was my area that I can be able to still make money, still play ball on the side, and then take care of my moms and family.
That's
That's
all. That's a great
how I
story,
look at
man.
it.
So
But yeah, I'm sorry. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, no, no, no. That's fine. That's fine. What were some key lessons that you've learned just from your experiences on and off the court? And even as an entrepreneur, I want to know a little bit more about that because I know it kind of intertwines. But what are some key
Mhm.
lessons that you? And I know even learning now, because we always
Yeah,
growing and learning.
yeah. I'm still a student of life, student of the game. I'm always eager to share to who that wants to listen. Who has an ear, let them hear. And some of the experiences, the things that I've taken, was my discipline.
Mm,
Even when I was um, playing ball, I had a certain sense that I saw things before it happened. So I saw a play
mm,
before it happened, 2 or 3 steps, and then what I call that, it was almost like the preparation of hard work that I did
right.
met the opportunity. And so I just had that gift, if you will, and that eye. And so I did the same thing with business. And when I was working with different clients, I envisioned certain things, whether it was a hairstyle, where I wanted to work, who I wanted to work with, who I wanted to work for. And so daily, just getting up super early in the morning. I've always been early bird, so rising, and so those same disciplines carried over. And I just knew that I wanted to be the best at it and take it to that next level. I had gotten hurt in a shop where this is, gosh, I forget, early 90s, had to be 90, and a guy didn't want to pay for a haircut. So I knew um, it was my pride was more hurt than anything.
Right.
And so a guy rolled on us with rolled on me with an AK-47.
Oh, wow.
Thank God that I'm still here, and that was another pivotal turning point because you have your peers is like, gee, we just not gonna let this happen. And so,
Right.
but I knew I had to make a decision, you know, we do every day. We on trial, I believe,
Oh,
and,
wow.
and
Interesting.
so we have to make those decisions on who you're gonna serve. You're gonna serve life or serve death, and I chose to serve life.
That's
And
powerful.
so I made decisions. My family, my now wife, uh, was like, "Yo, you can't stay working in them spots." And so
Mm,
I continued to say, you know what? I was a little depressed during that time, so I took a hiatus. And a brother that I worked with, he said, "Yo, G, man, you too nice. You need to get back in it and
okay.
either and play ball and and cut hair, and find a spot." So I wound up working in another location in Harlem, and then I was asked to go down in Midtown, really 72nd Street, and that kind of exposed me to a whole nother level of business and entrepreneurship and what they were doing with price points, different styles, permanent styles, and things like that. And as a barber, you pretty much went from a percentage of 5% to almost like 75 to 100% markup in
Oh,
what I
wow.
can be able to receive as far as compensation wise. And I had no clue. And so I met some high end hairstylists who were doing point of purchase ads, editorials, and videos, and which was amazing to me. So a friend of mine, Karen Bishop, I worked with her. She was amazing, and she had a portfolio. And we were sitting in her room, and I said, "Karen, I love this." I said, "How can I get into it?" So she said, "Really, Gary? I'm going to introduce you to a couple of folks." And that's how a lot of my life has been, just not being afraid, even
There
though
you
I
go.
was, I still did it, afraid, not knowing what was to expect. And so, I was like a barber that was working in a salon paying booth rent on like hairstylist prices or
Right.
you know, and so that was a big key for me. So I met her team and I started, was introduced to editorials, doing the Vibe and the Source magazine. In fact, my boy, uh, uh, Grim Percy, he introduced me to a guy who was a photographer by the name of Jonathan Mannion, and I started doing point of purchase ads with Coca-Cola and Pepsi, and I was working with him for the Vibe and the Source, and I
Oh,
was
wow.
his, and so we were doing a lot of hip hop guys, LL, you name it, and he was amazing. He was just a great guy when I first met him, and then from the place that I worked at, I was actually called to go do a service down in a haircut down in the Riga Royal Hotel for someone. Unbeknownst to me, it happened to be. I go down there with my bag, my kit, and who turns around in the chair was Muhammad Ali.
Oh,
And
wow. That's
so
pretty
I
awesome.
just, yeah, man. And so I was like in awe of somebody who's an icon that my dad used to watch, and I used to watch on ABC Sports. He was there in the flesh.
That's pretty, wow.
Yeah, and he like was so loving and embraced me, put me in a yoke and started jabbing me, and it was amazing, man. I was just looking at that, and one of my peers later on. It was an amazing time. It was totally amazing time.
And just to recap this little part, man, it just sounds like just not being afraid and taking that leap of faith, or just
Yeah,
go all out, and all these great things seem to really knock on your door. You knocked on the door, better yet, right or wrong.
I would say, pretty much I was led to be able to knock on our doors, but I wasn't. I just broke through that fear part, and
There
I
you
think a
go.
lot of times we get in a paralytical state when we don't just go with what God's saying within our heart and what we need to really do, instead of leaning to what people are saying and everybody has an opinion, but just going
That's
with
it.
your heart.
That's it. That's it. So listen to that. When you listen to this, listen to your heart, because your heart always knows. What challenges did you face starting your business, and how did you overcome them?
For me, it was I really didn't have a pure sense of the understanding the business finance aspect and how to be able to seed feed revenue and build up a network and for my net worth. And so the first time I had my business, I did it out of haste, and that's another key for me. I learned never to do anything out of haste, because you begin to get into a place where you're in survival mode, and so whatever looks or sounds good, you're going to grab or gravitate to it, and it's going to come to you. So I
Right.
really got into business with a partnership with I should have never did, and I think they pretty much saw me as a cash cow, and so that partnership didn't last long, and they kind of left, and I was out, having to fulfill the business, the monthly note, the lights, you name it, and then facilitate those I was working in it. And I was on 72nd Street at the time. This was like
Okay.
1999 going into, I had it until 2003. And so that was like my MBA, I would consider into business. And so that was a major wake up call for me, knowing that I had a point with playing basketball, and certainly I had my high moments in that, and a
Mhm.
possible opportunity to play pro overseas in Australia, but chose this craft to move forward. Having your own business and starting to see that you've done everything you could possibly do, and seeing it sink was hurtful,
Wow.
to say the least. I had my wife; she was there with me 100%, and you just start seeing all the things that you could have done better, and
Right.
that's really was a turning point for me, for sure.
And how did you overcome this again?
So wow, it was just, I would just say, man, God just put the right people in my path that
Okay.
just, I can't say it was me. I'd be lying to tell you that, man. Just
Okay. Okay.
because I was in a place that, you think you could put yourself out, but there's certain people and certain opportunities. Certainly my family was foundational. And I continued to play ball, which was an outlet. And my boy Joe Pasta was just, a blessing with that. And just really seeing and evaluating what I did uh, wrong, and then kind of letting that go, and then starting anew. It was just
Okay.
something, that I knew that I would later get back into. Didn't know how long, and it took a number of years that I wound up getting back, and I was working in um, another location, and I really had got quiet and got still, and just had knew that it wasn't for me to give up my craft,
Okay.
and just to continue to educate myself and take classes. That was one key, of in finance and business, and I did that. And I said, you know what, if I'm going to do this again, I'm certainly gonna win, and it's not gonna fail by me not knowing what I don't know.
That's it.
And
That's it.
so that was a key place for me. And
Awesome.
so
Awesome.
so yeah, so later I got an opportunity, and I had some really great people around me that was mentoring me, and just in business. And I had several clients that were Wall Street guys, and I just would glean information, and they would share information, and I was always absorbing through
So,
conversation.
so would you say it's super important to be in a circle that's not only because motivation kind of dies.
Yeah,
I think motivation dies, but just a circle with individuals that will fully prepare you, because you never could be fully prepared, but at least that circle could educate yourself and take you to levels that you've never seen. Can we agree on that, or what are your thoughts on that?
yeah, absolutely, man. I would say, Henry, that having, like, the proverb says, to have wise counsel,
Mm.
And when you're able to have wise counsel of those that are smarter than you
There you go.
around you, that could kind of help navigate those areas that you really just don't know.
That's it.
And you can just glean that wisdom from them. And certainly they may not know that specific industry, but they know the gifts and talents that you may have, and they will recommend a colleague or two, or someone that might be able to assist in those areas. And in actuality, it was just like, for me, it was like basketball.
That's
I
it.
knew I had to build a team.
Right.
So I couldn't do anything without, and I was good with that. And I can be able to run a point and run the team. So I just knew who would be my players, who I knew that knew either finance or bookkeeping or marketing or promotion. And, I just sought out those individuals, and pretty much they started coming to me,
Awesome.
share the vision.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. This question right here is my key question. I ask all guests, but this is the key because as an educator, I love to give nuggets to the individuals, especially the youth, man. I'm a big advocate of youth, man. So I
Right.
want you to just tell me, and I'm going to ask you, just
Okay.
let it all out on this one, G.
Yeah.
What advice would you give any aspiring young entrepreneur, man, that enter the sports industry or their own solopreneurship? What advice do you have, that you can give us?
Yeah. Um, Certainly not to be, even if you are afraid, certainly you got to have some sort of a plan and vision, um, you know, uh, in anything. And what's big for me is I didn't realize once I started the business that there was already a built-in clientele base. Now, most people will say, well, what are you saying? What do you mean?
I was thinking the same thing, so I'm
Yeah,
glad you just said that, G.
yeah. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that if you don't take the opportunity to know what's either behind the curtain or on the other side of that street, you won't know the crowd of people that will be waiting for you.
Mm,
Because everybody has a clientele, I believe, that's already waiting for you. Because we're in this world not to just, it's not all about gaining and getting stuff.
that's
You
it.
know, it's about our experiences. This is why we're doing what we're doing now, and how someone else can benefit from either my mistakes or triumphs. And
Mm,
so if you look at it like that, if I don't do this, then there's somebody really that I don't even know that's coming up that's waiting for me to start this business, that may need work, may need guidance,
right.
may need some mentoring in certain areas. And I found that time after time. I mean, my wife has her business, our business, which is a consulting business virtually. She was doing it 15 years before the pandemic,
Wow.
all virtual.
Wow.
And she had a client, in fact, who never saw her face to face for 8 years.
Wow.
So there was a clientele already waiting. It's kind of heavy, but when you start thinking about it, and not being an island unto yourself, you begin to see that. And there were like tips and clues that only business school kind of teaches you,
Right.
and certain things that business school doesn't teach you. You're not going to learn.
That's it.
And certainly that was one of the nuggets that I learned from starting my businesses.
Awesome. Awesome. So who has been your biggest influence or mentor during your journey, and why?
I think for me, it was always a reading. I was always constantly reading.
And what
So
books would you recommend? At least one or two titles that would you recommend? Would you?
yeah, one pivotal big one was Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice by
There you go.
Dennis Kimbro.
There you go.
Of course, Napoleon Hill, uh, Why Should All the White Guys Have All the Fun? By
Okay.
Reggie Lewis was one. Um, gosh, so many others that I think about.
That's
Rich
a
Dad
great
Poor.
start because I definitely read those and reread those. So
Yeah,
that
yeah,
those are awesome books. So I
yeah.
always tell everyone, if you're gonna
Mm,
start reading, man, those are definitely the ones to start picking up, man. Because
yeah.
mindset is just everything in this
There
world.
you go. There you go. Rich Dad Poor Dad, and the
There
number
you
one
go.
book for me was the Bible. I grew
Oh,
up. I grew up in the church. My grandmother always had us, and not that I stayed in it.
right.
Because but you get back to those foundational principles, and to your mindset. Shirt is that as a man thinketh, so is he.
That's it.
And
That's
so
it.
whatever you
G.
think,
Drop it up, G. Keep
uh,
dropping them, G.
yeah,
Keep
man.
dropping them.
Whatever you think on, that's what you're going to become. Whatever you read or feed on, whether it's the internet, IG, what have you, you're feeding that into you, and
That's
you're
it.
gonna become that. And so, that's basically I tried to surround myself with individuals in those books, and prayer was a big thing for me.
Right.
It's huge, still is. That was kind of led, and people started coming into my cipher and was able to kind of guide and lead me into all truth. So that's
Awesome,
where he
man.
was at.
That was super powerful, man.
Yeah.
What is one piece of advice that you wish you had received early in your career?
Gosh, um, just not stopping, especially with basketball. I think there's no regrets, but there was this amazing guy who was his name was Clark Ellie,
Okay.
and he was an amazing ball player, and he always took time out. He actually worked in Douglas Center, and he was instrumental in navigating getting his younger brother to the NBA, who had Mario Ellie, who had 4 rings. But he was so humble, and he was certainly one, and who would stop and speak with me. And another gentleman who was from Columbia University, who first became a client of mine through another buddy of mine, Stephen Dweck, and his name was Mr. Larry Days. He was key, and just individuals. Eddie Samuel Sheffield,
Mm,
he's another life coach and spiritual guy that was a blessing. And I just kept focused. Joe Pasta, another one. Just always encouraging, and I think we both were able to be encouraging for one another at a certain time of life, and
awesome.
I'm grateful for what he's doing in his life now, for
That's
sure.
awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome. So for me is I love this, man, and I got a couple more before we head out, man. Because if it was with
yeah,
me, man, I'm gonna keep
yeah,
chopping it up with you,
yeah.
man. What's the importance of you being an owner of a home?
Wow, I learned that a long time ago, man. In fact, I was exposed to when I went away to school at 13, and coming from an apartment in the city and going up and seeing nothing but ruralness, grass, trees, and living in a home certainly exposed me to a level of quality of life I had no clue.
Mm,
And so to be able to own your own home is again another mindset, but you also are building equity for yourself in a
that's it.
sense. And if you begin to kind of look at it like it's your own bank, so to speak. And so, you begin to do things and appreciate things in your home, and you take care of it, and in your community and outside, and you find that you wind up doing things you never thought, whether it's gardening or just making sure your outside is looking great. But ultimately, the whole aspect of understanding home ownership is generational wealth for me,
That's it.
and that was like the first, you know, I would say between starting a business and then home. Those are the two areas that you can begin to really start building a net worth for yourself.
Please repeat this part again. Please reread this part. Please re-listen to this part.
Yeah.
It's super powerful, and this is why I created this, man. This is where sports, real estate, but entrepreneurship, they just collide, man. And stories like you, man, and I think it's just super important to hear this, man. And I
Yeah.
can't thank you enough, G, man, for just
No,
your time, man. I'm
it's
super humble, man, and I've even
a
learned,
pleasure.
yeah, I've learned some stuff. And even we know each other, but
Yeah.
when you hear the stories, it's like, it's just been an amazing journey, man. And I'm gonna leave you off with this. What's your future goals and any projects that we should be on the lookout for?
Well, man, it's always pushing the next project. Actually, I pivoted to doing within the last several years, last 10 years, TV and film. So I've been working on different projects, doing the hairstyling and grooming for currently Godfather of Harlem is one, and I've been blessed to work with some amazing people. So moving forward, pretty much doing more of that.
Okay.
Um, building more of a network, um, and assisting and kind of being that counsel to young people in entrepreneurship and in sports, and assisting those that might have gone further in sports, and understanding that how you may need to have a financial advisor,
That's it.
understanding the finance of your money,
That's
that you
it.
don't want to become a statistic where you're making all of this money, and you wind up broke within the
That's it.
next 10 years. And so hopefully I could be able to do more and build um, some sort of platform where I could be able to speak to individuals on that level, for sure.
So that'll be something that me and you will talk offline, man, because we
Okay.
definitely aligning, and I'm working on some stuff. So you already know, G. This is only
Yeah.
the beginning,
Yeah.
G. This
I
is
look
only the
forward to it. And just to
yeah.
share, the journey is not so smooth. I mean, we talking within say 45 minutes to an hour, and when you hear someone's story, it's a journey, and it's I can only equate it. It's like, if you don't take, it's like a plane taxiing. How
Mm,
long are you going to taxi? It's time for you to take flight. And
right,
so if you look at um, an airplane is going to get to, say, from here to California, it's going to be turbulence. It's going to go up different altitudes. It's going to come down a little lower, and so it might get there sooner than another plane. But know that you'll get to your destination if you have faith and you have a plan and the right individuals and the right mindset. You know,
right.
uh,
No. That's awesome, G. That's awesome, and again, I love what you just finished saying, man. It's just one of those things that you just have to stay the course and just keep
yeah,
believing.
yeah,
Just keep
man, yeah.
believing, man. I
You
think
believe.
that's super powerful. So where can we find you? You have what email, social media. Where we have questions, and I got people hounding me down. They want to know about because you
Okay,
dropped a lot of nuggets. So
okay.
so yeah,
Yeah, I'm still building my my social media platforms where I'm pivoting now. You can possibly see some things that I haven't posted in a little while, but
okay, yeah,
yeah, I'll certainly send you all that information, email and stuff like that,
okay.
for the people, for sure.
So again, G, I can't thank you enough for your time, for your
Thank
wisdom,
you,
your
thank
your
you.
your, your journey, man. And I think for me, the biggest takeaway that I've gotten over here, man, no matter how scared or the fear comes in, man, you got to just
Mhm.
kind of tumble it down, man, and just keep pushing forward, G.
You got to keep doing it. You have to, because it's life is going to always going to throw something in front of you. And like, even when we started, before we got, talking with this, you were like, yo, G, don't overthink this. Just come on and flow. And see, those are the things that
Yeah,
I appreciate because it was real. It was truthful.
right.
And, I received that from you. And I laughed it off when I
Right.
was driving. And I said, "Yeah, that's my man right there. You know, you would say what's on your heart, and only a friend would share that. You know."
Absolutely, man. Just this conversation, man, went deeper, man. It gave me goosebumps, man. But again, man, I really loved it. I love the place where we went. And again, thank you, man. And to the next one. And
Thank you.
this is only the beginning, brother. So again, peace. Don't forget
100%.
to subscribe, hit a comment, let us know what you thought. High rise in sports.
Yeah.
And to the next one, man. Thank you again, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate you,
All
man.
right, peace.
All right. All right. Peace.